I'm selling my house. Here are the pictures of my house. Here's the location. Here's the link to the sales page. So guys, you can see the house that I lived in for a few years and I spent thousands of hours working on. It was a terrible decision on my behalf. My mum said to me, Sam, I was youngish back then. I was 29. She said, Sam, don't buy this house. It's just too much work. I was stubborn. I was naive. I didn't listen to her, and I should have. But anyway, here's my house. It's for sale. Here's what it costs. Well, here's the price I'm hoping to get for it. And part of the reason I'm selling it, well, I think most of you already know why I'm selling this house. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. And although it seems like I'm smiling, I'm kind of just laughing at myself here, at my own stupidity. Because it is true. I was driving home. I was driving from Melbourne to Newcastle the other day, and I spoke to my friend. His name's Steve. And Steve and I, he's helped me work on the house. He has big, heavy machinery. He's a really good friend of mine, a really close friend. And he was saying, mate, you've done really well with that house. All the stuff you've done there on the property, it was such a massive job you've done there. There was so much work to do. And I said, mate, it was one of the stupidest decisions I ever made when it comes to financial decisions. And Steve was like, no, you've done really well. And I said, mate, you've got to accept sunk cost bias here. Can't let that affect my decisions. That was not a great call. So I paid 373,000 Australian dollars for this house. And that was about 12 years ago. Since then, I've invested a lot of hard work, sweat and tears into this house. It was a lot of work just to get to a reasonable living standard. It pretty much didn't have a kitchen when I bought it. Didn't have a laundry. It was kind of like a hobby house in the mountains located. It's not really full on mountains. It's about 600 meters elevation. So about 3,000 feet elevation, not super high, but for the area, it's the highest mountain in the area. And it was basically on the top of a mountain. I really liked that idea. The location is beautiful, absolutely beautiful spot. When I got there, it was like a jungle. There was just junk everywhere. This old guy who had the house, he just left stuff, bottles everywhere, all through the gardens. There was stuff, trees had grown through all the bottles. There was vines everywhere. I'd been trying to cut down trees and I was getting tangled in vines and I just couldn't get myself out of them. I felt claustrophobic. It was crazy. Anyway, I'd cut down one tree so I could just get to the front door. It was just like a jungle. And because it was so much like a jungle, even though it was quite cold there and the elevation was high, there was mosquitoes everywhere. I was getting bitten by them all the time. It was a bit of a hellish place to live until I got it to the point where it became quite nice. But that was a lot of work. And I did have to cut down a lot of trees just to get to around the house. There were all these trees that this guy had planted had grown literally into the house. Some of them had grown into the house, literally. One of them grew all the way through the decking. It was just like vines everywhere. It was just a crazy jungle house. Anyway, many, many months of work. I was working full time at the time and we just had my son, Jack. But many months of work, finally I got to the house to the point where I went, all right, it's looking pretty good. It's a lot more livable now. And then I moved to Taiwan. And I moved to Taiwan because my company, which was called Cycling Express at the time, that I'd started with a couple of other guys, we needed to move to an international location and for various reasons. So we moved to Taiwan and we lived there. My boy Jack and Shanna, we moved there. And we were there for about 8 months until Shannon had had enough and she wanted to leave. She felt very lonely in Taiwan and that was a fair call. So we went back to Australia. And after that, well, that's another story. We ended up buying a B&B and I ran a B&B pretty much by myself. It was about a bunch of B&Bs, in fact, and I added more to it. We built a couple of extra B&Bs there. But anyway, that's another story. So all in all, I invested probably a couple of $100,000 into doing this work, plus a hell of a lot of work for myself. And I excavated the property a lot. It was a very, very steep, rugged block. It was very hard to walk down. And so we got an excavator in there and we made it so you could actually drive your car. You could have it, have a driveway and actually use some of the land, which was a lot of work, but it made a big difference to the livability of the property. So if you're interested, or you know someone who might be interested in buying this house, I'd be stoked if you were to share this link with them, or just share it around, because that would help me to sell this damn house. Now, it's been on the market now for a couple of weeks. I'm really hoping to sell it because, well, you know Shani, she's going to be going to, very likely at this stage, Johns Hopkins Hospital in Maryland in the USA. They have some really, really good new treatment there. They've done basically treatment with her exact stage of Hieronymus colorectal cancer, stage 4 cancer. So she's going to be very likely to be going there, and I honestly don't know what this could cost. Could be upwards of $500,000. We really don't know. It depends on how she responds to the treatment. So it's the kind of thing where I want to put myself in a position where I don't say to her, you've got to come home now, I'm out of money. You can just say, stay as long as you need to. That's what we're hoping to do here. That's the reason, the primary reason why we're selling this house. Now, this location's really, really nice. It's 3.3 acres. So it's at about 14,000 square meters, which would be about 38,000 square feet. And it's right on the edge of a national park. So I'd often go running in the park with my dog in this national park. Really beautiful location. Some of the tenants I had there, a couple of them were fantastic. One of them was a lady, a guy and a girl, and they both did ultra marathons. So they'd go do 100-kilometer running. So they'd go running through the mountains, and they loved it for that purpose. Now, they moved out after a little while. She got married to someone else. Anyway, another story. And then I got a new tenant in. And this new tenant was great. And then he lost his mind. He had a work injury. The doctor gave him some drugs, oxycodone and some other things. They mixed together, and he turned crazy. The guy went crazy. He took out his chainsaw. And my house, it took me 3 months of work to build the deck. I had to replace all the decking because, like I said, the trees had grown through the decking. So I replaced a lot of that deck with my dad. My dad actually put a huge amount of work into helping me. So thank you, Dad. My dad's name's Trevor. And yeah, he's obviously a really good guy. He's helped me a lot with this house in particular. He's actually even been there to help me do things within the last week. So big thank you, Dad, for doing that. Now, the deck that we worked on together, which was actually quite an enjoyable thing to do. A lot of work. This tenant takes out his chainsaw, cuts the entire thing down. It's one of the biggest decks you've ever seen. It's this massive deck. Because the property's really steep, it has these really big, long posts. He's cut all of them down. Everything. The entire deck. I get to the property, and I was just shocked. I couldn't believe it. One of the neighbors called me, and they said, your massive deck that you built, it's in the forest. It's fallen down into the forest. What the hell's going on with your house? And I went, I don't know. I didn't know about this. I get to the house. The rear deck, there's a rear deck and a front deck. Both of them cut down, just destroyed, right? The fence, my fence that I actually got built on the front of the property, cut down, destroyed. My house was spray painted. They spray painted the house as well with this crazy blue spray paint. So, as a result of these drugs the doctor gave him, the guy has lost his mind, destroyed the house. Now, it's taken me, I don't know, it took me months. I had to take them to court just to get them out of the property. They wanted to basically be slumlords and just live there forever, not pay the rent. They tried to do that. I had to take them to court. I won in court. They were forced to move out. And if they didn't move out, they were going to be apparently forcefully removed by the police. So they moved out. When they did, I got to work fixing the property. Now, I had some help from various people, but I had to pay to replace this front deck. It cost $30,000 to replace the decking. We had to do some repainting. In fact, some of the inside of the house, they'd even spray painted some of the inside of the house. It was a mess. So this is one of those stories from hell, those horror stories from hell where you have a tenant come along and they just make your life hell. It was stressful. This was at a time when we just found out about Shanna's cancer. And it was one of those things where it was sort of like, can things get any worse? Yeah, I'm sure they can. But, it didn't feel like that at the time. It just felt really crap. Anyway, that's in the past now. The house is all fixed up. It's looking nice. It's got a brand new deck. Hopefully someone comes along and buys it. that would be great. Now, let me know your thoughts on the house, guys, on this story in the comments. And as always, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for your support this year, especially donating to Shanna's cause. I'm absolutely not asking anyone to donate at this point in time because you all have done so much for us with that, and I'm incredibly appreciative for your help there. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again on another video. Bye-bye.